Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today I'm bringing you a solo episode on procrastination. And we're going to dive right into it because, frankly, I've been delaying this podcast for a couple months now, and some would say I was procrastinating on it, and I was beating myself up on it a bit, but I didn't feel like I was ready for it. And it just worked out pretty well that I did delay it, because then I ran across someone who specializes in procrastination, and his name is Tim Pitchell. Just ran across some of his information through a podcast, and then just kind of listened to some audios he had on the topic. And as it comes to find out, it's a good thing that I delayed it, and ultimately I wasn't procrastinating on it, because he's got a really good definition of what procrastination is. And the reason why I wasn't procrastinating in this episode, even though I scheduled it and rescheduled it multiple times, is because, as you'll hear as I read this definition, you'll know why. So Tim Pitchell defines procrastination as voluntary delay in an intentional activity despite expecting to be worse off for the delay, right? And so that key point is, by delaying this, you're going to be worse off because of the delay. That's the definition of procrastination. And the reason why I come to find out after hearing that definition that I wasn't procrastinating on this episode was that I knew it didn't have any impact on us, on the podcast or anything, because frankly, I've been very good the last 6 to 8 months in canning a lot of episodes, getting a lot of interviews in, getting them scheduled, reaching out to potential guests. And so each time I rescheduled it, it didn't delay or interrupt our releasing of episodes. I had really good interviews sitting there waiting. I just moved them up. And so if it would have gotten to the point where I procrastinated and I couldn't get an episode out, or we missed a Thursday, we come out on Thursdays, then that would have been, by Tim's definition, that would have been procrastinating. But since I knew I had really good episodes already recorded, and I just kind of felt like I wasn't ready. And he talks a little bit about this too. Is like, sometimes you need to stew on an idea and think on it. And so I wasn't, as I was delaying this particular episode, I wasn't avoiding thinking about it and jotting down notes. And when something would come about, that's what I do a lot of these solo episodes is I just kind of keep an Evernote or my written notebook here on thoughts and ideas of it as they come about to try to put together a good episode for you. And so ultimately, my delaying it a bit got me to think a little bit on it, and then ultimately, then ran into Tim's work on it, and it really cleared up a lot for me, and hopefully clears up for you. And so just to state that definition again, because here's the thing, I think it's important, because one of the things that he talks about is people that procrastinate end up with a lot of self-blame and guilt and shame around it. And if it's not really procrastination, then we're having self-blame, guilt, and shame for no reason, right? And so we want to get clear on that definition, and that is voluntary delay of an intended action despite expecting to be worse off for the delay. That's procrastination, and that's where we run into issues. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not again, disclaimer, I'm not a procrastination expert. I've just come across quite a few different strategies and ideas around it that has helped me avoid it as much as possible, or, as I'll talk about in a little bit, recognize it and have a solution for it, or learn from why am I procrastinating on that, right? And so that's a big thing, and there's a really good Simpsons clip that I like. And I think about that to myself, sometimes we make decisions in our present self that impact our future self. And so I want to play this little quick Homer Simpson clip for you.
Someday these kids will be out of the house and you'll regret not spending more time with them.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.
In typical Homer Simpson fashion, he's an idiot, but a genius at the same time with some of the things he says. And I think we all can relate to what he just said. I'll let future Homer worry about that. And that's ultimately what we end up doing. And it can be very frustrating to do that and have those consequences or that, blame, guilt, and shame around it. And so we're trying to prevent that. And ultimately, we have this procrastination on things in our, let's just talk about business or practice, professional lives at this point. I'm not going to get into personal lives at this point, but there's things we know we need to be doing and we're not doing them, and it's impacting our practice negatively and it's preventing us from growing. All right, docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly/propelmcm, Modern Chiropractic Marketing, right? And so check out that link, and we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. That's why I really wanted to make sure I had this episode. I'm not going to revolutionize the thinking around procrastination on this episode. I'm going to take some strategies from other people and give you some resources at the end if this is a problem. But it is impacting you, and getting to coach so many chiropractors like I do, I see it happen. And then I get some, potential new coaching clients will ask me, certain questions like, what's our success rate? Or do you have any things that you've noticed that some clients succeed and some don't? And it usually comes down to two things. One is, are they coachable, right? We're not going to put our clients in this box and tell them you have to go and do 13 spinal screenings in a week. We're going to agree on a path and then we're going to coach them and hold them accountable there. But one, is the person coachable? And then two, are they putting in the work? And we get some clients where they end up just dragging their feet chronically on it, even though they know if they did this work, they would be better off for it. And so that falls into that definition of procrastination. And so I don't want chiropractors to struggle with that because it becomes a huge hindrance in your growth. And so definitely try to get a grasp of it. I'm going to go down 4 easy, I'm going to say easy, but 4 strategies here. I'm sure there's more, but I want to be pretty concise with it and give you a starting point, and then you can go from there. I don't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of stuff. But the first one is a strategic coach concept called the 80% approach. And that essentially means is try to get 80% of that particular thing, project, task, whatever done, at least 80% of it, get going and I'm going to shoot for 80% of it. And then find who could maybe do the next 20%, right? And kind of top it off, or take a step back from it and then relook at it and get that next 20%. A lot of the things that we have to do don't have to be 100% accurate. I'm not talking about brain surgery here or even certain things we do in patient care, but there's a lot of things that you could do, like shooting a video for marketing. If you don't have to be a A-list actor that's got perfect, dictation and perfect lighting and all that stuff like that, right? It doesn't have to be a screenplay. Okay. So the 80% approach is a great strategy. Just get going on it. And that kind of piggybacks into the next one, which is understanding what your Colby index is. And it gives you, we all of our coaching clients, we get them a Colby index, and it gives us four scores, and it's fact finder, implementer, follow through, and quick start. And it goes, basically 1 to 10. And we get a lot of our clients are a low quick start, right? So they don't get out of the gates well, but when they do, they follow through and implement. And we like to know that. We get something, they're a high fact finder and a low quick start. So they're paralysis by analysis would be the phrase we hear with that. And if that sounds like you might have a Colby that is a high fact finder and a low quick start. And I don't know, I don't do Colbys on non-evidence informed chiropractors. I do them all on evidence informed ones, but it seems like most of us have a higher fact finder. Maybe that's part of why we became more evidence informed versus maybe philosophical. I don't know that correlation fully or connection, but something I've noticed a lot of our clients are high fact finder, low quick start. And so that can be kind of a procrastination aspect. So we try to act as their quick start, get them out of the gates. Because once we do, then we know that we can get them going and they'll implement it. And sometimes on the opposite, we have a high quick start, but low follow through. And so we know we need to do a lot of the follow through aspects for them to get it across the finish line. So you can go to Colby Index. You can Google search that. It's KOLBE. If you're not a client of ours, and you can take that, it's reasonably priced, and get an idea of where you fall on it. And don't beat yourself up on that. Just realize, like, if you're not a quick start, you may need to find someone that is and get you out of the gates and then let you follow through with it. Okay. The next thing is scheduling. I'm very, very intentional with my Google Calendar and my tasks. I carve out time to get things done and really make sure that if it's important and if there is a consequence of not doing it, it gets put on my calendar first. So get really clear on your scheduling, start carving out the time. Even if you have to schedule it 2 or 3 weeks in advance, that'll help you because a lot of you are busy. I get it. I get that excuse all the time. And a lot of you are busy, but usually can find 2 to 4 hours a week to get some things done that are working on the business and are going to prevent you from procrastinating and then get that ball moving forward. So get very clear with your scheduling, plan ahead, and be intentional with that. And then lastly, I'll kind of piggyback a couple thoughts on this, is a lot of times when you are procrastinating on something, I want you to start now thinking to yourself, why am I procrastinating on that? I want you to use it as a insightful moment and figure out, why am I procrastinating on that? What is it? And you'll usually be able to figure out what the actual reason for you is on that and what you need to start thinking about. And this goes back another strategic coach concept and the fourth strategy on this. And it's also a book that I'm going to recommend, but it's the who, not how concept. I want you to start recognizing when you're procrastinating, what aspect of that are you procrastinating on, and who could potentially do that for you? Who could you delegate internally to your team or externally to someone outsourced? And that's where, honestly, our, MCM Mastery program, we were just a coaching program for so long because it just was what we started as. And as I was coaching chiropractors, I realized so many of them were procrastinating on actually doing the marketing. Like, they knew how to do it because I was coaching them how to do it, but they were procrastinating on it. And so we saw it as a pain point, and now we do a lot of the content marketing for our chiropractors. And now their practice has a content marketing done for them that's not canned content. It's actually them and their content, and we're getting it out there for them. And so we have become that who for those chiropractors. But there's a lot of different things you can look at when you're procrastinating and figure out, like, okay, who internally or externally could do this for me and take this off my plate? And so I want you to start really thinking to yourself and being insightful when you are procrastinating, and use it as a moment to reflect on why that is, and then maybe get that off your plate and who can do it. Okay. So it's a way of not beating yourself up on procrastination. There are some things you have to do, like your patient notes. All right. But there's other things that you don't have to do, and you could outsource it or delegate it internally effectively to get that off your plate. So I think that's one of the best strategies for all this, is to, one, realize that some things you're delaying aren't procrastination because it doesn't really serve you and it doesn't have a bad consequence for delaying it, right? So that's great. So you don't need to have blame and guilt and shame around that. And then if you are procrastinating and it does have a negative consequence to you, one way to get that blame, guilt, and shame off your plate is to find a who that can do it for you and feel good about that. And so I highly recommend you start doing that. And so just to kind of summarize those 4 strategies, that's the 80% approach, the Kolbe index, schedule intentionally, and then the who, not how concept, right? There's 3 books I want to recommend for you. There's probably a lot more, but I want you, if procrastination is a huge issue in your life right now, personally or professionally, 3 books I think will be phenomenal for you. One is Atomic Habits by James Clear. A lot of you probably heard that book, but really good. The next one is Willpower Doesn't Work. And I could have made this a whole nother topic or strategy, but I'll let you read the book and you'll get a lot out of it. But essentially, Ben Hardy, who writes that book, says that, willpower is overrated. We don't necessarily have to will our way through things. And he talks about more of your environment and putting certain things in place, like different who's and, that type of stuff, and putting, MCM mastery around you, or, maybe it's hiring a team member that you need. Maybe it's getting a VA or something, right? It's changing the environment to allow for you to succeed versus trying to will your way through it, even though it's not working for you. So that's a great book. And then lastly, Who Not How by Dan Sullivan is a phenomenal read, very easy read. And actually Ben Hardy is the author on that with Dan Sullivan as well. So those 3 books I highly recommend. There's no reason why you have to be a chronic procrastinator, or even if you're procrastinating here and there, but it's really impacting you negatively. There are solutions for it. There are ways for you to work around it and think about it differently. And I know that if you can solve this in your life, you're going to break through those ceiling of complexities you're having and get over those obstacles that are preventing you from really thriving the way you want. I hope this episode was helpful. Again, I'm not the expert on procrastination. I still do it. I'm still working on it. But I had a good amount of time to think and also put together some ideas on this. And these are the strategies that I frankly work on and have over the last probably 6 years, and it's serving me well. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.